So another point that I wanted to make about this stuff, I made the point about white people showing up to the protests because deep down they know that they are physically intimidated by black people. It doesn't stop there. The fact that they feel that fear is met with guilt. They feel guilty that they feel that fear. And this happens so deeply psychologically that they don't even know it's happening. They feel this guilt for feeling fearful about black people, and the way that they alleviate that guilt is going to protests and virtue signaling and doing all of these things. Because decades of propaganda, Hollywood movies have been telling them, if you even notice race, you're evil. But then, of course, the social justice warrior class plays it the other way around too, where if you say that you don't see color, like so many baby boomers are fond of saying, they'll attack you for that too, because, oh, what, you don't see color, like how, of course you see. It's all just a trick, but it's fear followed by guilt for feeling the fear that gets these people out to these protests. And so the other thing that really bothers me is the word racist is so stupid. If I say that black people are better at basketball than white people, am I racist? If I say black people are better at rap, does that make me racist? The word racist was designed. It was, you can see I have a playlist called Nothing to See Here, and that guy, Oswald Mosley, who really got it, was talking about accusations of being racialist. So they tried, racialist was the first rollout of this attempt to guilt people, to guilt white people for valuing their own, for any nonsense. You can say that any observation is racialist or racist if it has to do with race. So it's designed to be a slippery word. There's racial hatred that exists, but there are very, very, very few people, especially white people, that are racially hateful. Very few. So the idea that we would have to make any sort of decision or any sort of policy changes to combat racial hatred is stupid. It's virtually non-existent, and when it does exist in all races, there are racially hateful people of all races. It's the extreme end of the spectrum I was kind of talking about in the last video, which is this in-group preference spectrum, where white people tend to be very low in-group preference, and there are people who are very high in-group preference, and then there's also an out-group preference or out-group spectrum, the way that you feel about the out-group, and part of that is making jokes to distinguish yourself from the out-group, and that's fine and natural, and they tried to demonize that because they demonize anything that allows white people to have any kind of identity at all. And they're in the process of doing the same thing for blacks, but it won't happen quite as fast because blacks have more in-group preference. But the word racist is stupid. Racial hatred is not an issue in this country, obviously. And the thing that really bothers me is that, so I'm obviously not racially hateful, obviously. I don't get into this much, but, I could be making 60 grand a year right now as a teacher if I wasn't so utterly disgusted by the way they treat little black boys in the school system. If there is one domain in America in which blacks have it worse, it is the school system. And you have all of these virtue signaling teachers. The irony of this is that these very same teachers who treat these kids like shit, tell them that they're bad people, shame them, try to make them white in a way, like that's what it is, like a whitewashing. These very same teachers are the ones going, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter to their paychecks. They're disgusting. I used to volunteer a lot with little black kids, and I loved it because I wasn't forcing them to learn some stupid bullshit. So these teachers have always been the bleeding edge of any communist revolution because they tend to be sort of low IQ. They're useful idiots. they're useful, and they're idiots. So they propagate your agenda without even understanding what it is, because they're kind of in it for themselves. So the idea that I'm racially hateful is so fucking stupid. Not that anyone has ever really told me that, because, you know, if you're calling me anything, it's racist, which again doesn't make any fucking sense. It's a stupid word. It was a designed word. But yeah, I just wanted to add that. I mean, these people, they're afraid because they're guilty. They feel guilty, and that makes them afraid, and that makes them virtue signal in the other direction. And teachers are gross. The school system's gross. If I really hated black kids, I'd be torturing them with math right now. So